Hello, everybody. I'm Nina Soden, author of the Blood Angel series, the Sector C series, and the interactive urban fantasy novel, The Beast Within. And today I am super excited to have Bryan Ashbury here with me today. He was born and raised in Pueblo, Colorado. Growing up, he was heavily inspired by Stephen King, my all time favorite author, as well as Tales from the Crypt, which is fantastic. I don't know too many people that watched it as much as I did when I was growing up, and of course, The Twilight Zone. So, we're going to talk to him a little bit about his inspiration, his life, and of course, his latest book. So, Bryan, thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm very excited to have you here.
Me on.
So, we'll just jump right into questions. And if I get too personal, oh well, answer them anyways. Um, Can you, for those of the people out there that do not already know you, tell us just a little bit about you and how you started in writing?
Okay. Yeah, I had started writing these short stories, and I had completed one about probably 10 years. It actually wasn't complete. I had a big chunk of it done probably almost 10 years ago, and that was Outskirts of Meeker. Um, and I didn't, at that age, I was still pretty young. I don't think I had the discipline or the maturity to follow through with a lot of things. And so I had a couple, that one and a couple other ones just sitting around. And about 2 years ago, I had shared one. It was The Chair in the Closet with a coworker of mine, and he really enjoyed it. And he said, "Man, I think you might have something here. You should try submitting these to some horror podcasts." And I really hadn't listened to many horror podcasts before, and so I wanted to listen to a few of them, and I listened to Chilling Tales for Dark Nights, and they have quite a few different programs that they air, and I liked it, and I thought, oh, this is kind of right up my alley. So I submitted The Chair in the Closet. That was the first one I actually ever submitted, and man, it took a while. I actually forgot about it. It took a few months, and I got an acceptance letter, and I thought I was really surprised actually. And so, shortly after that, they produced it, and it was really satisfying to hear your work um, being made like that, because
Yeah.
they do a great job. They use, really high quality SFX sound effects, and the narrators are top notch, and it's really almost like listening to the shows you listen to like in the 40s when you listen to a show on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like what they're doing again. So that was cool. And so after that, I just had a I don't know. I just had it was hugely encouraging, and I just started pumping out the stories after that. And so that's kind of how I started. I think getting into it. Originally, though, when I started writing, it was kind of like a spoof. It was kind of I would a lot of the stories I write are just demented versions of either people or experiences I've had, but there's always a dark comical element to all of them,
Yeah.
and or most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have that heavily dark comedy in them. And so, yeah, it started off as more of a spoof that just turned into something that was, you know, I guess semi-successful for me so far.
So, when was the first time you actually thought of yourself as an author?
I guess after I published my paperback, Windowless Room. I guess once you have a book under your belt, I guess I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm an author now. So,
So, was that self published or was it published through a publisher?
well, it was self-published.
What made
I
you go
just
that
found it
route?
easier. I'm sorry.
What made you go that route?
Um, just the ease. I think honestly, you know, and it's just getting so much more popular nowadays to self-publish, it seems like, that. And I'm actually kind of glad I did now. I had heard from another author friend of mine that it does have its benefits. You keep all the rights to your story. So say one of my goals is to adapt one of my stories into a screenplay and film a movie. So I don't have to worry about contacting anyone. I have all the rights to it. Just seemed easier, and the royalties you get, I mean, besides the cut that whoever you're going through gets, you get the bulk of your royalties too.
Yeah.
So
I'm fully, fully supportive of self-publishing. That's how I published all of my books. And I think that it's a fantastic opportunity to control the process and to understand the process 100%.
Definitely.
So let's talk about your writing process. What does that look like? Are you a I write every day type of person, or I write when it comes to me? I have to write this many words a day. What does that look like for you?
I just write when I can. I mean, I work full time, so I wish I had the time to be able to just invest in just writing, but I try to get it in whenever I can, and I try to write every day though. It's kind of like author by night, I guess you'd say,
Yeah.
so yeah, whenever I can, I try to get it in.
Okay. Are you a plotter or are you a pantster? Fly by the seat of your pants, or do you actually lay it all out and plot?
I think when I start a story, I pretty much know what I want to accomplish with it. And a lot of times what I actually find myself doing is writing out um, almost like a trailer for it. And so so I can remember when I go back to it, the major points I want to hit. And then I just start from there. I just start, going through it. I might have some notes I put down for certain scenes or whatever, or something like that. But yeah, I keep a notebook, and I write stuff down. It's funny because I guess everyone really is different, I know in some of the interviews Stephen King did, he says never carry a notebook, don't. And I always thought, well, why not, But for him, I guess that just doesn't work. But for me, I just find that easier.
So his whole process or thought behind the notebook is if it's a really good idea, it will stick with you.
Yeah,
If it doesn't stick with you, then putting it in a notebook doesn't make the idea any better.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm a notebook person too. I've got tons of them with ideas everywhere. And yeah, it's just part of the process for me. So, do you listen to music or do you need noise around when you're writing, or are you a completely silent type of writer?
I prefer silence. I can
Okay.
think better that way,
And do
But
you,
if I have noise, I can work through it.
okay. And do you type? Are you a computer or do you handwrite your books first?
I do both. I think I prefer using the computer, but there's just times when you're not next to a computer and you're doing stuff, and I have a notebook I carry, and
Yeah.
I'll do it that way too.
Yeah, I can do a little bit like idea writing, but I have a couple of author friends that they handwrite their entire manuscript before ever touching a computer, which for me that is mind-boggling. I have to be
Yeah.
able to edit as I go and do all of that. So, how long does it take you to write a first draft? I mean, in your most recent book, which is A Windowless Room, Excursions into
Excursions.
Horror, how long did it take you to write the first draft?
Well, the stories were already completed. I
Okay, so
finished up.
it's short
Yeah,
story.
yeah, they're it's a collection of short stories. So, I just compiled them and added them to the book. So
So this is years of coming up with stories that went into this book then.
yeah, exactly. It was a collection of my first four short stories,
Okay.
and yeah, the first one. I mean, the first one, Outskirts of Meeker. That one was the one that was years in the making, and that's just because I didn't, like I said, stick to it until
Yeah.
recently, and after that, I mean, now I probably average 3 or 4 months to get a story done. That's just because I can't do it full time, unfortunately,
Yeah.
you know.
And
But
how long
yeah,
are your stories?
I'm sorry.
How long are each of your stories?
They average about 6 to 8,000 words probably. The latest one I'm working on is going. It's almost. I think you call it a novelette. It's gonna be that son of a bitch is what it's called. It's gonna be over 10,000 words, which for me is a long one. That's getting longer than what I normally write. But with stories, you may have an idea in mind on how long you think it's gonna be, but the story dictates for itself.
100%.
You know,
So do you
when
think
it's
you'll ever venture away from the short story and into the novel world?
no, I mean, there's a possibility. I think I think if I ever did, it would be more of a screenplay type. It would be more of something I would have to do in a screenplay because I've just, some people write novels, some folks write short stories, some can do both, and
Yeah.
there's an audience for both, it seems like. But for me, I like, you know, short, fast, explosive climax, resolution, reward.
Yeah.
That's what I like, and so yeah, novels just kind of lose me um, after so long, and that's just me,
Yeah.
So
So, over the last few years, has COVID affected the way that you write or anything like that? Determined your process?
I would say not at all. No,
Okay. Didn't give you more time to write?
maybe to a degree, I guess. Yeah, I guess to a degree it did.
Okay. Let's talk about your editing process. So, writing is one thing. And for an author, that's the fun part. But what does your editing process look like? Because I will tell you, I have a love-hate relationship with my editor. What does your process look like? And how many rounds does that go through?
Usually I'll reread to my wife Amber. She's my editor,
Okay.
and she's the first person that hears my stories. And then from there, I might share it with some friends, let them kind of look it over. But I'm pretty much a one-man band. I do it all myself. And so, yeah,
Wow.
usually after and I'll go back, and a lot of times I'll just edit as I go,
Yep.
type it, reread it, type it again. Can I change this? Can I change that? But of course, you always miss things, and I think for me, the easiest way is to print it out actually, and
Yep.
then just as I read it, mark on the paper as I go. And for me, that seems to be the easiest way.
Okay. So what is your background in? Where do you come from? Do you have an English background? Do you have a degree in writing? Are you completely out of that world and never thought you'd be a writer? Where's your background?
Well, I always enjoyed writing in school. I was an average student in school, but I think my English was one of my favorite subjects. And I mean English, it was writing and it was art. Those were my two. I guess I had that mindset. I always gravitated towards that.
Yeah.
And so I can remember writing a really some weird stories when I was younger and sharing them with friends, and they were like, "Man, this is weird. This is weird stuff." So, but I did, again, I didn't save any of that. I didn't think anything would come from that. And then, yeah, so I think I always had that passion for that.
Okay. What about well, let's show the audience your latest book. Bring that one
Okay.
up and let's show it to them. Because I love this cover and I want to know where you got the cover designed
Oh,
or
this
who
is just
designed it.
the cover design. I had an idea on what I wanted to do, and this was one of the free. There's that clip art you can get, the free clip art, and I just kind of modified it a little bit. Made it a little bit darker and stuff, and so that's where I got that from right there.
Okay. I think you did a great job with it. It looks ominous and a little bit creepy.
Thank
Um,
you.
so tell us, what are the stories that are in that book? What can we expect if we purchase that book?
Well, if you look up excursions in the dictionary, I think it says it's a short pleasure trip, something along those lines. And that's what I look to lead readers on. Basically a short entertaining trip,
Okay.
because I've never really aimed to write the scariest stories or the goriest stories, but I have tried to always write the most entertaining horror stories that I could. And I think that's what ultimately will capture a reader and make let them follow you if they know they're going to be entertained with every story in some way or another.
Yes. So you were highly influenced by Stephen King, I would imagine. So do you follow that same track of it's more psychological horror, more kind of out there horror as opposed to the gore? I mean, you said you don't do a lot of gore. So where do you find in terms of if you had to identify yourself or compare yourself? I know nobody can compare to Stephen King, but if you had to, are you along those same psychological, journey?
Really more psychological. I've always enjoyed that. That's always captured me. And I mean, gosh, as far as influences go, I mean, he was a major one, but I've always liked that style of like, well, I mean, I was a kid back in the 90s, so I watched movies like Cape Fear and Unlawful Entry. Those were movies that, I was the golden era, I think, of movies back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Nowadays, I'm kind of just having a hard time connecting with a lot of movies now, but like back then, and I love that dark, foreboding, on the
That
edge of your seat,
sense of what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would almost categorize my stuff more as suspense
Okay.
than really full out horror. But
Okay.
it has a mixture of both, and there's even, like I said, comedy in there as well. It's just a mishmash of it's just its own category, I think, to be honest. But yeah, definitely more psychological. I mean, I get bored with just the gore. I'd rather
Yeah.
have someone mess with your mind more than anything.
Yeah. So this book has how many stories in it?
It has four stories.
Which one is your favorite?
Um, White Coat Syndrome. As far as these goes, White Coat Syndrome is pretty cool. I really like the ending to that one.
Okay, tell
It's
us a
just
little bit about it without giving away too much.
it's about an ex military man who who's been trying to get disability for well over a decade. He's not really, you know, disabled, but he's been playing that can for a long time, and he just happens to meet a law firm that's more than willing to take on his case,
Hmm,
and he ultimately regrets that.
okay, very cool. So this is out, this is published, it's available on Amazon, which the link will be in this description of the video. So if you are out there and you have not, checked out a copy and you want to, please click that link and get yours. That one's done. It's gone. What
It's
can
also
we
on
expect?
Barnes and
Oh,
Noble as
and
well.
Barnes and
And
Noble.
I'm really excited to let listeners know that I'm actually going on a book tour pretty soon here, all through the Barnes and Noble in Colorado. I've actually have it on the shelf in the store, which I'm very proud of, because I was told by many people that when you self-publish a book, it's just not common.
It's
It's
hard.
almost
Yeah.
unheard of to get it on the shelf of a major retailer, and I want to let listeners know, stick with it. It is possible.
Okay, so let's dive down that a little bit. For those authors out there that are self-published, that are interested in that process, how did you get into the bookstore? What did you do?
It was hard, and initially I was met with instant no. Nope, sorry, it's non-returnable. We just don't deal with that.
Yeah.
And I didn't stop there. I just I had emailed and emailed and let them know my background, let them know what I that I have worked on the Chilling Tales network, and and then one of the store managers up in the Littleton location was nice enough to take a chance on me, and she said, yeah, we'll have you come in. And she was just very nice. And after that was my foot in the door. That
Yeah.
opened up everything for me, because once one manager seen that she was doing that, they said, well, okay, we can do that as well. And so, yeah, just persistence.
Is that who you were emailing, is directly to the stores or?
I emailed everyone at Barnes, and I think I emailed as far as I could get. And but ultimately it was the store manager that
Okay.
made that decision.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. Well,
Thank
and if
you.
you can be in the stores in Colorado, you can expand, which
And
is
that's my
phenomenal.
yeah, my next goal.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, what can we expect from you next? What are you working on? What's your work in progress?
Well, I'm really excited about this one. I think, to me, this could be The Shining. This one right here. It's called Son
Okay.
of a Bitch, and it's going to be my longest one that I've written so far. And I'm really excited about this because my wife Amber has helped me a lot with this too, and so I think it's going to make it even better. And it's written largely, the main character is female, so she's helped me a lot with making that authentic.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's called Son of a Bitch, and it should be out shortly. I'm still, working on getting it edited and everything, and it's going to be quite a ride. I'll tell you that.
Are you going to release that as a standalone short novel?
Yes, I think I'll probably do an ebook on that, and then
Okay.
once I get enough stories, I'll probably end up doing another paperback, another collection of short stories.
Okay. So, something a lot of people, especially close to you, may want to know is, are your characters based on people in your real life, even loosely, or are they completely from your imagination?
Oh, they're I'll just put it this way, they're loosely based on people
Okay.
in my real life. But yeah, that's where I get my inspiration from. I think a lot of times that's one of the hardest things for a lot of authors to answer is like, well, where do you get your inspiration from? I can instantly answer it's everyday life. There's characters amongst us every day, and I just happen to pick up. It seems like I just happen to pick up on people's idiosyncrasies and quirkiness, and I just amplify that and then twist it and darken it a little bit, and I got my character right there.
Yeah. So, if your friends and family were to pick up your books and read them, could they identify themselves or somewhat?
I've never really wrote about like my immediate family or anything like that. I'm sure a lot of my friends would know some of the characters just through life or they could figure it out, or I've discussed it where they know who they some of them know who they are.
Okay. All right. So, what are you currently reading?
I have Night Shift. That's Stephen King's. Yeah, that introduced me to the how awesome short stories could be, and so
Yeah.
I always go back to that one.
Okay. Okay.
That's one I always go back to. And also,
So,
not just that, but I want to give a chance to mention to listeners some of the amazing authors that can be found on Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. I've actually started looking at some of their work. Jeff Sturdivant, Maru E. Martinez. There's a lot of really, I think, underground talent that's just waiting to be, read, heard, exposed,
there are
found.
a lot of independent authors, indie authors that are out there that nobody ever gets to hear about. And there are some fantastic authors. So
Definitely.
it's amazing what you can find when you talk to other indie authors. So if you have suggestions on authors that you just absolutely love, send them my way. I'd love to get their name out there.
Yeah. Actually, I got one right here. Colorado
All right.
Twilight, Mark Baldwin. Yeah, he
Awesome.
was. That's one I can definitely recommend. And Mark, I got to just put it out there. He was inspired me a lot. He was the first person I ever knew to write a book, and so that was one of the things that sparks a memory that got me thinking about actually doing something was Mark. So, and I had him join me at our local library to do a workshop for budding writers, and it went real well. It was it
That's
was a, it
awesome.
was a hit.
That's awesome. I love authors helping authors. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's why I do
definitely.
these interviews. All right. Is there anything that we have not yet talked about that you want my viewers to know or to hear about before we jump into the lightning round of questions?
Um, I think if I just let them, I would like to let them know that I think that these stories are entertaining. They're authentic. I think like you ever like read something and you're like the dialogue is just it doesn't sound like people talk. That's one thing I could never get hooked when I can never. And I'm a big dialogue guy. A lot of my stuff I think could easily be transferred into a screenplay because there's so much of it.
Mhm.
And so I think they're gonna enjoy. I think most of them will enjoy the how authentic it is.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I
Well,
hope they
awesome.
check it out.
All right. So I like to end all of my interviews with the James Lipton Inside the Actors Studio 10-question lightning round questionnaire. So no explanations, just answers as quick as they come to you. All right.
Right.
What is your favorite word?
Terror.
What is your least favorite word?
Happy.
What turns you on?
The unexpected.
What turns you off?
A happy ending.
What sound or noise do you love?
Freaking.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Um, Sound of laughter.
What is your favorite curse word?
Uh, Probably the F word.
Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, I mean, I would like to be a writer full time if I
Okay.
could.
What profession would you not want to do?
Um, I would say law enforcement.
All right. And final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I hope when I arrive at the pearly gates, he said that you used all the talent that I instilled in you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this interview, for sharing your information about your books with my viewers, and for coming on and just being open and honest with us.
Nina,
I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
definitely. I sure appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everybody else enjoys it. Don't forget the link in the description of this video. Go and check out his book and get a copy of his ebook as well, A Token of Gratitude.